Hey guys, welcome back. It's been 1 week since the Nintendo Switch 2 release, and I'm here to give you my impressions. The good, the bad, and frankly, the unacceptable. Hey guys, so we're back. It's another week here, and the Nintendo Switch has officially been out since last Thursday. And I know I'm probably, by the time this video goes up, it's going to be the evening of Thursday, but most of you guys are just getting off work anyway. So what I want to talk to you about today is my first impressions of the Switch 2 after a week of use. Kind of what you should expect if you haven't purchased one yet, and then some of the things that were just sort of unexpected. We'll talk about compatibility, things like that, games that run well, games that don't run well, battery life, all of the things. All right, guys, so today it's been a week since the Switch 2 launched, and essentially what we're going to be talking about now are the good things, the bad things, and the unacceptable things. The Switch 2 has been a long-awaited console, and we've all kind of just been wanting another iteration of the Switch. Well, let's talk about what the expectations were. I think we were all kind of expecting something that was a huge leap forward with technology. Nintendo didn't really do that. That's kind of a large disappointment. You definitely don't get what you pay for, but if you're buying into the Nintendo ecosystem, you're also buying the games and the exclusives and things like that most people are familiar and happy with. So that's why you buy the Switch. You buy it for the games. Anyway, moving on. Basically, the first thing that I want to talk about today is battery life. Now, I played this guy last week when I first got it. I did 3 rounds of Mario Kart World on the settings that were fresh out of the box. Like, this is assuming you don't change volume, brightness, anything. And I got 3 rounds of Mario Kart World in. And while that's not the worst thing in the world, the battery life on this is awful. I'm just going to say, I'm going to turn the volume down now. 3 rounds of Mario Kart is not great. I mean, you're running, and I wasn't even doing online play. I was just doing single player and 100 cc's. And I was not getting super great, wasn't getting super great battery life. The thing drained to about 50% just from simply the first round. So I'm going to pick the crab and I'm going to pick that car. We're going to do, let's see, it literally doesn't matter what we do. But anyway, so if you're just getting the Switch because you want to play it mobile, you want to play Mario Kart, my recommendation would be carry a battery backup with you if you're going to be on the go, because realistically, the Switch 2 leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to battery life. We all kind of saw that coming for, my friend Steve over at Tronics Fix. He opened it up, said that battery was the same size as the old Switch, but we've got so much more performance that we're trying to crank out of this guy that, it's really just not the same. So you want to make sure that when you're actually using the Switch that you're either hooked up to a battery bank or just expecting that it's going to die after about, 15 to 20 minutes of use. So that's, and again, that's if you leave it on factory settings. So if you don't change a thing out of the box, if your volume is the same, if everything else remains the same, you'll probably last 3 rounds of Kart at 100 cc's. So that was my experience. I was not super happy about that, just because I do like to take my Switch to, I like to take it up to bed and play it when my wife is interested in going to bed before I am, and I'm, still wide awake. So for me, that was kind of a no-go. We'll move on to not just battery life, but there are other things to be considered. Now, this display is not an OLED display. The display itself is actually the same, I believe, as the original Nintendo Switch. It's just an upgraded, so I think it's 1080p now, native here. And it does look better. It's sharper, everything looks a little nicer than the original Switch. And ultimately, you know, you're going to be happy with your experience gaming on this, and the overall, you know, view of the screen. The next sort of not so great thing I would say about the Switch is that it's a little weighty. And by that I mean, if you have fresh, clean hands that are maybe dry, or if you have dry skin, the texture of these Joy-Cons, while it's nice and smooth, it has a little bit of a matte feel to it. So if you have dry hands, the Switch is just going to slide right down through your hands. Now, if your hands are like mine, always a little bit sweaty, a little bit moist, you're going to be fine. But it makes you feel like you have to squeeze it, because it's not quite as small as the original Switch, so it doesn't just fit in your hands. And I have big guy hands, you know, because I'm 6'4" and a pretty large guy. So naturally, what my tendency to do is to do the whole phone grip thing, where you wrap your pinkies around the bottom like this to support the Switch while you play it. And you can get some pretty bad fatigue from doing that. Now, this is, again, just when you're holding it in handheld mode. This isn't necessarily when you're docked. Docked play is a whole different thing and makes a lot of these complaints actually kind of irrelevant. So, moving on. The next thing I would say that I do really like about the Switch is actually the fact that this kickstand sits up so much nicer than the original. The original Switch that I had, because I never upgraded to the OLED model, had a tiny little kickstand just like that, and if you bump the Switch on one side, it would fall over. And after a while, that kickstand started to wear out too. This kickstand kind of bends back at a better angle, so you can pretty much play any profile if you want to have it, you know, set on a tabletop like this. The Joy-Cons detach, and it's all super easy. You know, it's actually a really natural feel too when you go to detach the Joy-Cons, and they've got the squeezy buttons back here. It feels great. That's just my opinion. I love it. I actually think the magnetic Joy-Cons are kind of nice. It was a little scary at first. When you first start playing the Switch, you're kind of worried, because if you hold it by just the Joy-Cons, you can actually see the Joy-Cons. If you look really closely right there, they flex a little bit, and they're not going to come out on their own. They're very well put in there. They magnetize very well. And so unclipping them and pulling them out when it's docked in tabletop mode is a super, super simple thing to do. So props on the Joy-Cons. I actually like the new design of the Joy-Cons. I think it's one of those things that is very improved over the original Switch. And then, of course, putting them back in is just a snap, just like that. So the next thing that I actually found out on my own that I was a little irritated by was the fact that the Switch doesn't actually, the compatibility of the Pro controllers, because a lot of us invested some money in our original Pro controllers. And if you invested money in your Pro controller, you want to be able to turn on your Switch. And if you have an original Nintendo Switch Pro controller, it does not, you can turn on the controller, and this controller is paired, I promise. I can actually prove to you that it's paired. It won't turn on your Switch. And you might be thinking, well, duh, it's a new console. Why would it pair and work? Well, Nintendo advertised that your Switch Pro controllers were backwards compatible, or not backwards compatible, but compatible with the Switch 2. So the problem that I see is if they're compatible, I think it should be able to turn on the console. Now, here, I'm going to prove to you that this is actually paired by turning on the console. Okay, and then we'll flip on the controller, and you can see that controller pairs right up, and now it's working just fine. We're going back and forth. We can do everything that you would normally do. So the main issue that I had was that I didn't know this, and if you play your Switch in docked mode like I do a lot, where you're getting up to go to, let's say, you know, I have a big theater room, so you get up and you know, go up to your Switch, you have to push the power button and then go sit back down, which whoopee, right? Not a big deal, but it's the 21st century here, so we like our things a little more lazy. We like to be able to get up, or we like to be able to sit down, push a button on a remote, and then things turn on. So Again, not a huge deal. You can turn it off with the Pro Controller, but if you want to actually be able to turn the console off and on remotely, you're gonna have to invest the $89 and go get yourself a Switch 2 Pro Controller. Because if you look at this, it will turn on the console, as you see there. And then you can push the button 3 times and you can play and everything else. Now, the Switch 2 Pro Controller is not bad. I actually kind of like it. It's a little different from the original Switch controller. It feels pretty much the same. It just kind of maintains that texture that the Switch 2 Joy-Cons have, where it's that kind of matte finish with a smooth texture to it. So it holds a little different in the hands just because of that. And the textured grip on the Switch, the original Pro controller, it's definitely different. I'll just say that. This feels like it was made with, high quality plastic with the different grip, the different textured grip, and that could be completely wrong. And this just feels a little cheaper. It's definitely lighter. I do like that the pairing lights and everything are right there on the top, and then the charging indicators on the top too. I really enjoy that versus the original Switch Pro controller, which had the pairing on the bottom, or not the pairing, but the controller order on the bottom, and then the pairing and charging indicator on the top. I like that's all in one spot. I think a good job was done by Nintendo on the new Pro controller. I've very much enjoyed using the new Pro controller. I can't say that the game chat feature is something that I've used yet, just because I don't have the camera. And I have very few people, as you can see, that I actually talk to on here or that are online on a regular basis. So even on a weeknight or a weekend, I'd pop into game chat and there was only one person online. So it's hard to see how that feature will be useful, but if you're more of a social gamer and you like to game and talk to people online, that might be for you. It's just not for me. So those are the main things that I think should be improved on the Switch. Overall, it's a great docked experience. My projector is a 4K projector. It actually shows that you're getting the 4K resolution that you should be. And at least it shows that it went through the initial HDR setup when I docked and it was hooked up to the receiver that can process 4K HDR. So everything seems to be in check there. The overall gaming experience has been a really great time too. I have very much enjoyed Mario Karting. The online section of Mario Kart World is excellent. I do kind of wish you could do a free roam multiplayer, but free roam Mario Kart World is only available if you're actually going to be doing solo play. If you are wanting to play online, my recommendation would be practice up a little bit, because new courses, while they're a lot of fun, they are a lot of work too. So my friend Ryan was over last night, and we were playing a lot of Mario Kart, and it took him a while to get used to the new courses, and the new characters are a lot of fun too. You can be a cow, you can be the crab, obviously, like I am right now, and all kinds of things. So highly recommend the Switch 2. If you're a big Nintendo diehard and you really like the Mario Kart options that are out there, and you like the games in general, I'd recommend it. I haven't had any issues with my other games that that transferred over. So, and I don't know if that's just because most of my other games are pretty typical Nintendo games that should be supported on Switch 2. But anyway, it's overall a really great console. I have a few gripes. Like I said, the Pro controller, it was advertised as compatible, but then of course the compatibility doesn't apply to powering on your Switch, which is a bit of a bummer. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. It's kind of short and sweet, but if you have any other questions about the Switch 2 before you buy, let me know. Drop a comment down below, and I'd be happy to actually share my experiences with you guys. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a whole lot right now, just because I kind of told you everything that I found frustrating or really good about the Switch. Again, guys, if you really like this content, if you want to see more of it, please hit the like button down below and subscribe. It's the best way for you to get updates on what I'm doing here. And it's the best way for me to share the other stuff that I do with you too, which is computer repair and general tech in general, I guess. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.